Do it. Do it. Come on, kill me. I'm here. Come on, do it now. Kill me.
Schwartzy, the podcast. It's a Schwartzy show.
So we're finally there. It felt like it would never come, but we finally got to Terminator.
I am Alex Vujasevic.
And I'm Malenko.
Nice to meet you.
Opening credits. This font is amazing. It feels like the font typewriter on Instagram. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, of course.
So like when you're queuing up your Instagram story about the upcoming apocalypse.
Talk about Instagram stories.
We open up with an Instagram filter sepia on Los Angeles 2029. And through the sepia filter, we see what I always called the dangerous part. So the beginning of any Terminator movie, to me, I refer to as the dangerous part, because as a kid, I would get really scared of these parts because I've always been very scared of like apocalyptic imagery and especially like things that I believed could happen. So like I always saw that movie as like, you know, like, oh my God, it was like always this fear love. Like I was comforted by the movie because the movie was like setting up this existential terror, but then also saving me from it. You know what I mean?
Totally. And the funny thing is that the fact that you mention that there is this reality to it where something could potentially happen, but like watching it now, I was like, damn, like now that AI is like on the brink of happening, it's so not gonna happen this way, where it's like it's just like it's just like clunky robots like fighting each other and fighting humanity to like, you know, kill humanity. And like,
yeah, it's true.
It's just it's funny just like reflecting on it in a way where it's like, oh yeah, like this isn't gonna happen in this way at all, like where a nuclear holocaust is gonna
wouldn't like AI just do some kind of frequency that like just like fries some part of all of our brains at the same time? It's just like, and we're just like all dead.
I mean, like realistically, in like a robot, like a fucking computer now can track, like give you more information than most any person, right? So it's just like,
I want to get to that. I have a lot to say about that. So we see, you know, these fucking tanks rolling over the skulls. The sky, you know, those hovercrafts? What do you call those?
There's a name for them.
It's not a spaceship, but it's like a seek and destroy. A drone? Are they drones?
Yeah, they're probably the equivalent of drones.
Drone pilot.
Right away from the sound design and the opening credits, the hovercrafts, the way everything is going together, this movie is already like, you see that it's being masterfully directed. Totally. Like you're so on board so immediately in this movie. It really earns its trust because it's like, this movie's like, I'm going to take you on a ride, but trust me, you're going to love it. That's how confident this movie is. Yeah. But I loved how very 80s this movie looked. Like it was very much like it decidedly gonna look like of its time.
Well, it's like I mean that's the thing, is that like dude was working with limitations, working with his like, well, like this is what I have. This is a budget movie, dude. It's like the notion that like this movie spawned, you know, like sequels that look the way they do now with the CGI that they have now. And by that, I mean terrible. But like just the notion that like, that's also like the appealing part of me, the appealing part of it for me when I was young, which was like, oh, like it doesn't have the sheen. Plus I think I watched Terminator 2 first.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Also, Back to the Future Part 2 first, obviously.
McFly, you bojo! Don't burst all work on water unless you've got power.
Yes, but for so long that movie did not make sense, and I remember like the revelation of it after making sense, being like, oh, that's what was going on. Like, why were there 4 of them at one point? You know.
The point is that like, yeah, there's like a total like disgusting like LA.
I loved how LA this movie looked.
So LA.
And dude, the 2029, like just LA, the way it looks, There are parts of Trump's America that I'm sure look exactly like that. Honestly, that's not far off.
Yeah.
Dude, this cast is so fucking stacked.
Yeah.
Michael Biehn, Linda Hamilton, Lance Henriksen, Paul Winfield, dude.
Brian Thompson,
Bill Paxton.
yeah.
And Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Obviously.
Okay, so the music is absolutely divine.
Yeah.
So synthy, so 80s, so perfect. Directed by James Cameron. I really think like he's a wonderful director.
Yeah, James Cameron. I mean, James Cameron's amazing. But like in recent years has fallen under the spell of Avatar, and like it's just like let's make 20 million.
And like, wasn't it criticized immediately after for being like white saviory?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's that's like sort of a classic story of white
like no one
saviorness.
wants to even see that story anymore. Like people are kind of sick of it, right? Like no one really wants The Last Samurai anymore, you know?
But I think you're thinking of it too contextually now. I think that like in 2009, people weren't as critical of that in 2009, dude. It's like,
oh my God,
hey man,
you're right,
like
you're right.
You're thinking 2009,
Wow.
and it's like, oh man, that was 10 years ago.
Wow, that's so weird.
And I hated that movie then, and now he's gonna make more, and I hope it fails. We're right at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, scene opens up late night Los Angeles, 1984. Guy driving a truck is like, what the hell?
You wrote it down also. And also, if you notice, immediately after they use the same sound of him going, what the hell? Again? And it's like, whoa, dude, you couldn't just like use an alternate take of this dude saying, unless obviously he fully sounds like, what the hell? But he's amazing, though. Oh, like, can I just point out that not only
I love that so much.
Not only does most of the cast just look so normcore at this point.
Next best thing to sliced breads, normcore.
They all, except for Schwartzy, look like fully regular people.
Like people you see every day now. You go to Parkdale and you're like, I saw you in Terminator the other day.
Totally.
Yeah. No, I thought the exact same thing, except for the hair. The only thing, like, no one does the feathering anymore. Or you know, like,
for sure, obviously.
No one's doing
styles change.
Yeah. But like the other styles are just like we're just wearing all the same clothing.
Fully. It's amazing. Including that guy who's just like, oh yeah, wearing a plaid shirt with a beanie.
That's true. We see Schwartzy right away at the 4:35 mark, brandishing his Schwartzy Guza.
Like big.
You see some Schwartzy Guza and like, oh my God, he's got a pretty like solid Guza. It's like he did not skip leg day. Dangerous music is the background. He's so sweaty. Do you think they did it on purpose? Like made his skin look kind of fake?
I think so. I think
like does he have like it looks plasticity? Did you notice that?
I did notice it throughout the entire movie, but like they also had to. I feel like they had to for later on in the movie constantly have to justify why they were putting so much Vaseline on the puppet Arnold.
Yeah, that's true. Oh my God, dude. Next scene with Bill Paxton, punker Bill Paxton.
Bishop, hey man.
Where Arnold comes to get new clothes from Bill Paxton and Brian Thompson.
He actually gets it from Brian Thompson, who's more like...
He doesn't get it from Brian Thompson. He gets it from the other guy who survives.
That's true. He gets it from the... Yes. So Brian Thompson has the honor of getting his heart ripped out by Schwartzy.
So cool.
So legendary. Like, wow.
It's amazing.
I was blown away by that scene. And what happens to Bill Paxton? Like, does he get like with that telescope or
what happens? Yeah, what happens is they're all around a telescope, and Bill Paxton pushes Brian Thompson. He's like, "My turn," and like. This is also both. I don't know if I'm pretty sure Schwartzy still has his gap, but also Bill Paxton has his gap too.
It's not your fault you're so gap-toothed.
And the funny thing is that like I remember all of these lines. I remember all of them.
Let's go through them because
it's my turn.
What's wrong with this picture?
What's wrong with this picture? And then he laughs. He's like,
yeah,
nice night for a walk, eh? And then Arnold goes,
nice night for a walk.
Nice night for a walk.
And then Brian Thompson goes, wash day tomorrow.
Wash day tomorrow. Nothing clean.
right?
Nothing clear, which I never understood as a kid. What does that mean?
Wash
and
day
it's
tomorrow?
like, oh yeah, ever since when I started washing my own clothes, it's like, oh, it's wash day tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly.
Nothing clean, right?
I mean, all of us have wanted to walk around naked like Schwartzy in LA.
Obviously. But yeah, like I was watching it with Leela and we were just like, holy fuck, dude. Like I was literally listing the lines to her right before they would happen, and
I did the same thing to Anna. She
Yeah.
was endeared and annoyed. So that punk, Brian Thompson, I just want to say for anyone who doesn't know, several episodes of Star Trek, and he was on that annoying plot line of the X-Files that was like the one that never resolved. It was like the Lost plot line.
Really? I thought it was like he was part of the alien race or whatever. That doesn't matter.
It never resolved. It was so bad.
No, none
Okay,
of that shit
so
ever resolved.
At first, I wasn't sure if it was Brian Thompson because for those who don't know, he has very characteristic grooves in his face. Like, what are those laugh lines? They go so deep. It's like they look so plasticine. Like they look like he like had surgery, but they couldn't change that one thing about his face.
Look like he had surgery. He looks like a not human person.
Yeah,
That's
it's
why
a very-
he's a fucking alien.
He's a very unusual looking man.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he didn't have that yet in this scene.
No, I mean, yeah, he did. Like,
did?
I recognize who he was because of that. Like,
Right.
Like, I knew him before that, and then I watched X-Files, and I was like, oh, the guy from fucking Terminator. But the next scene after...
Oh my god, the blue lightning. This blue lightning is now legendary.
Yeah.
And
also makes no sense, but amazing.
later, Kyle Reese says that it hurts like hell going through time, and he sells that. Like, he falls right the fuck out of the sky, and he's in pain. But he's also so on adrenaline, like, I have a job to do right fucking now.
Yeah.
I love how much he's a soldier in it the whole time.
Totally.
It doesn't happen like that in movies anymore.
No,
like
so many things in this movie in general don't happen in movies at all. The kinds of weird character
quirks. Yeah.
Quarks. Okay.
Quirks. Character quirks.
The kinds of things that idiosyncrasies
Yes,
people
yes.
get in complete non-characters. First of all, the what the hell guy,
Yeah.
the homeless guy that Kyle Reese now gets up to rob,
Yes.
and goes, "Hey buddy, did you just see a real bright light?"
Did you just see a real bright light?
And also, why do I don't understand. I sort of get why the police come. They see, I guess, a bright light or whatever. But then immediately it's just like, whoa, that guy. And it's like, whoa, dude, like, stop harassing that homeless man.
The movie sells it so well because I was finding myself defending the movie. Anna and I were watching it together, and she's like, why did the cops get there? And I was like, maybe they saw the disturbance in the light and they were like, hey, we're investigating this. And then they saw a commotion.
Yeah.
So that's my rationalization, but they don't explain it.
They don't explain a lot of things, but the interesting thing is too, maybe they got an APB on somebody who fucking pulled a dude's heart out, and they were like, "Oh shit, this guy must be pulling dudes' hearts out."
That's a good call.
Because it's not like the punkers would be any different to cops than fucking a homeless dude. Do you know what I mean?
The chase scene here, the music is amazing.
So awesome.
Just like dude, he fights a police officer. It's so badass because it's such a real fight. Like the way he pulls the gun away seems like it just a strength of will thing. Like, I'm gonna get this gun from you because I'm desperate, and the cop is like, fuck, this guy is crazy, what's going on? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's wholehearted for a movie that's about a future robot coming back in the past. The awkwardness of the fight scenes are amazing, and like just generally him like using his body to push people into okay, if I push him hard enough into this wall, he might drop the gun, and then just like run away. And then like as he's running through the alleyway, he like slips into what's seemingly like a department store with 2 floors, but seems like a mall for some reason. But it's in like an alleyway of like an LA, an urban area of LA, which I was like, this is so weird. I was cool with it, like whatever.
I was totally on board. He's so fucking scrappy. I wrote that down.
I wrote nimbly.
Yes.
Like I was like, he's so nimble and like fast and lean.
one thing that I think this movie really earns is the Nike high tops.
Oh, I love the Nike high tops. I was about to say,
because
Nike paid for some of this movie.
And you know what?
But not actually.
You know what? Like, if there's got to be like a capitalist product placement, I'm way more on board that this guy, like, out of desperation for the future, steals this, because it's way more undermining of capitalism. You know what I mean? Like, it's like I had to steal these fucking fancy shoes to walk around, and they're nice Nike high tops.
So awesome. They're so cool. They're really cool.
And like Anna and I were both like, every time the Nikes were on, they were like, damn, those Nikes are fucking sweet.
But also the way that he escapes from the mall, he climbs out a fire escape at one point. He like climbs up the what's it called, escalator, jumps over the other side, gets upstairs, then climbs down in. This is why I wrote nimbly. He climbs down in such a like nimble, like sort of like, I've been doing this most of my life, because most of my life has to be like fucking parkouring over like scrap metal, and then like goes into the cop's car, fucking steals his gun, and then like casually walks away, like with his like long overcoat that he's stolen. It's both like contrasting his like scrappiness with his like, okay, I'm in a different time. I have to act what I think is normal at this point. So I have to be like casual, you know?
I completely agree with you. I so love two things about what you just said. His body is like, he's very fit, but like normal guy. And Schwartzy is like muscly bound, which I thought was a really nice contrast.
I have a note on that later, but...
and also, the shotgun stealing was so well executed. He just subtly opens the door, takes out the gun, and leaves in the most subtle, calm way possible. I was really sold on the fact that this guy is a pro and he's like a soldier.
Yeah, he's a military-esque person, thinking about like, okay, if I get them both to follow me throughout this like little maze, I can get back out and get the gun and leave, which is such a like neat way of informing us what the character is capable of, who the character is, purely through action.
This movie presupposes that internet ever existed, because Schwartzy has to go to a phone book to find 3 Sarah Connors. So I just called it the internet. I called this phone book the internet because the phone book and the phone booths are treated in this movie like the internet.
For sure, where like information is found or whatever. But the interesting thing about the contrast between their introductions and Sarah Connor's introduction fully like sets up all of their characters. Arnold comes in, blue light happens, casually stands up, walks towards to see LA. Fucking Kyle Reese comes in, he's like, you know, like hurt, desperate, non-metal body. Yes. And then all of a sudden, Sarah Connor's like comes in so fucking nicely on a Vespa, just like wind in her hair, sunglasses, super cool, like 20-something-year-old.
Super cool 20-something. I love this contrast. I didn't realize ever until I just watched it how cartoonish it is.
Yeah.
What a drastic contrast. It could be like one of those movies like Pretty in Pink or something like that. It could be one of those kinds of movies.
But like that's also the thing about like horror movies is that they contrast like scary things with like not even normal things, almost like abnormally like happy, where it's like, oh yeah, my life is great. But then you find out later that her life isn't great.
That's true.
That's the neat thing about the movie.
It has reveals. Yeah, exactly.
It has reveals of like she doesn't really like her job. There are parts of her life that she really likes, plus I liked her friends so much.
So she's working class, you know, she works at a restaurant server job and she's punching in, and then we reveal her name. That's one thing this movie did so well, is it showed her name. We know she's Sarah Connor, and we see 3 Sarah Connors in the scene before. So there's this like way that it's making connections for us that's very visual. It's just like so delightful. It's such eye candy.
It's a movie.
No, I know. Whereas contrasting it to the last movie, Conan the Destroyer, which told you everything in such a clunky way.
But here's why I'll forgive that, is because I thought you were going to say, in contrast to the newest one, which repeats whole fucking scenes out of the movie.
Well, I don't even want to talk about that. That's not
yet anyway.
Well, not yet anyway. Schwartzy steals a car, and
Also, did you know how easy people fucking steal cars in this place? Like 80s cars were apparently just really shitty.
I
where you
love
just
that.
rip a fucking thing off
I
and just
love
like
that.
turn the thing inside.
but dude, also I totally believe it.
Yeah, of course, especially for a robot.
For Kyle Reese too, though.
Yeah, totally.
He totally had to jumpstart cars.
Of course.
Like he probably just always has to do that because it's always just cars that were left behind in the ruins.
Yeah.
Sarah is overwhelmed by her job. She's fucking up orders all over the place. She spills stuff on this guy's lap. And she's like, is this leather? I love that because it was such a casual scene. And then a kid puts ice cream in her like side, what's that called? The
Pouch?
smock?
Yeah.
Yeah. And Anna was like, wow, it's such a weird choice to make the kid put ice cream in her smock.
Dude, there's so many things to add, like a weird sense of reality to the movie. Like she punches in, she does her job, everybody's asking her for something in like kind of like an annoyed way, in a way that they're like, why is this fucking lady fucking so much of this shit up? Because
Yeah.
she knew, like, what the
Yeah,
hell?
yeah.
And then her like coworker who's like, you know, gum chewing 80s person.
Yeah, 20 somethings
yeah.
or late teens or whatever, you
Yeah.
know, just like kids basically having a young life and having their problems, the problems of their youth, the problems of their coming to age. Okay, so Schwartzy arms up in the next scene. I love how much work Schwartzy is doing physically in this movie. Anyone who says he didn't act or didn't do anything in this movie is dead wrong.
He's acting
because
so much.
And I want to talk about this more later because Schwartzy, he does something incredible for me and it affects my rating for this movie. So I'm going to tell you about that later. But the actor who's at the counter is another classic.
Dick Miller.
Classic that guy. Dude,
Recently died.
that was going to be my how did you guess?
How did you guess?
Oh no!
It's okay.
No, of course I know that.
I'm
Of
so glad.
course.
We'll just update how did you guess to right now.
How did you guess?
And that'll just be how did you guess, but just happening in the middle of the episode. Yeah, he just died 2 weeks ago. What a bummer. He's so great
Such
in
a
this
good
movie.
actor.
He was already so old in 1984. I'm like, how old were you?
But also, him.
He was like in his early 60s, right? Like
I don't know, actually. Well, it's like what his performance is also what I was saying earlier, which is like giving like random characters like total lives.
so much weight, like so much. You feel the backstory of this man. He's not just a guy behind a counter. He's like has a story. You can tell like he's got a grovelly voice. He's got an attitude.
But
the way he responds, like
even things. But like the most impressive thing is the line deliveries of things like when Schwartzy he fucking says a gun that doesn't exist yet,
Phased plasma rifle in the 40-watt range.
and the guy Dick Miller just goes, "Just what you see, pal."
I love that.
Such
I love
a good
that.
line.
He was like, what was it, like a pulse? It was like, oh, a phaser gun.
Yeah.
I was like, whoa, cool.
But not just that, not just the response, but the fact that he's like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Like I'm like just what you see, pal.
Well, you know
what
what?
I mean?
It's-
It explains everything in the economy of words
It's
in the
cool.
fucking movie.
It's cool that the movie didn't presuppose that like we'd be able to collect and pool information in AI and we'd have like an interconnective tissue that would provide us, like this network of information called the internet.
Internet? I'd say internet.
So the movie like leaves like the 80s idea of a future of like they're still making mistakes, like he doesn't know that there's no phaser gun,
Yeah.
Like a robot now, from a future from a now would, be like way
More updated.
More updated. There's a parallel with Kyle Reese arming up with his only weapon, which is a wicked shotgun that he saws off. I love this. It was so cool.
This is the interesting thing. I remember it being like, oh, a sawed-off shotgun, and I remember talking to other people about it being a sawed-off shotgun. But he just cuts off the end of it. That's like the wooden part, so he can hide it better. He doesn't saw off the actual shotgun,
Right.
Because what a sawing off does spreads the bullets,
you're
and he doesn't
right.
want to spread the bullets. He
No,
wants
he
it
just wants
very very
like
direct.
concealed. Yeah. I loved when I was a kid, like the string.
Oh, when he ties the string and
because it's like
hangs the shotgun on his arm.
Because I would always want to mimic things like that, but it was really just a wiener kid putting a string around his shoulder. That's all it was. Oh my God. I love the next scene because he pulls this. The background actor that they choose to get is a giant bearded dude that he pulls away from a payphone to look up Sarah Connor because he also knows to go to the 1980s internet, which is a public payphone, and find 3 Sarah Connors that you're going to kill all of.
Yeah.
Because you're just like, that's so cool. The systematic, like, I guess there's 3 of them, so they all have to die. I'm not taking any chances.
Yeah, totally. And when he pulls him out, he's like, "What the fuck?" And it's just such a like weird. And like, but he also the detail of you hearing the girlfriend or whatever partner of this dude like screaming like, "Where did you go? Why aren't you answering me?"
I love that.
That
was such attention to detail.
Also the fact that some clever memester fucking did that thing where like, you know how sometimes the internet will ask you a question about like, so you're not a robot. And like, we'll ask you to like look at a squiggly line of some kind and read it and then type it out or whatever.
Oh, I don't know.
Do you know that meme?
No, I don't know.
Now there's
that.
a meme of Schwartzy fucking looking at the like phone book and one of the Sarah Connors is really squiggly and his face is like somewhat confused.
I love that. I love that so much. That's such a good meme. Dude, his outfit is amazing.
It's cool.
It's really
he
cool.
looks really cool.
I love when he pulls up to the first Sarah Connor's house and we get this sort of like weird foreshadowing of trucks because there's always trucks in this movie. This movie's very like little boy, you know, traditional gendered.
It's such a little boy movie.
Traditional gendered little boy, baby blue. Like, you know, he pulls up and he crushes this little mini toy pickup truck and then he pulls
not pickup
out,
truck it's a what's it called,
not pickup truck, yeah, you're right, like an 18-wheeler but with just the front part.
What is that called again?
The cabin, I don't know. And oh my God, the nice touch of having the dog bark at him because they can always tell when it's a Terminator.
I noticed that too. This time I noticed that like all the dogs are barking at him, all of them, like consistently throughout the movie.
It was so cool. And then he goes, "Sarah Connor?"
Yes. And then pushes the door open. But like, it's such a this scene is so great because what they managed to do with only a few things. It's all sound. It's all like sound design.
Yeah.
Him intimidatingly asking her if she's Sarah Connor, and then him pushing the door open, and just like it all goes in slow mo. Yeah. And you never see her die.
No.
You just see like he shoots her once.
It's very much horror movie style, like that.
For sure.
Yeah, like slasher.
He shoots her once, and then he lowers the gun, and the camera pans down, and he just fucking keeps shooting.
Yeah.
And it's like, again, it's that like sort of methodical, like, no, she has to fucking die.
Yeah.
So I have to put as many bullets in her as possible.
Yeah, you're right.
It's
No,
fucked.
that was it is totally fucked. It's really brutal and heinous in a way that's so earned.
It's so earned, and also like it's much scarier not seeing any of it because you're like, no, he's doing it to me.
Yeah, it's horror. It's true horror.
Like you watch him do it to the audience.
Totally. And later we find out this woman's age, and I gotta say, I'm 34 years old. She's supposed to be 35, mother of 2, and I'm just like, wow, when am I going to be an adult like that? Like, because she's like dressed in kind of like this blouse gown, and she just has this perm, and she looks to me like I imagined when I was a kid, like 48-year-olds looked. You know what I mean?
Fully.
Like, and to me now to be a year away from her age, being like, I don't identify with that adulthood at all.
Yeah. I mean, it's also very 80s. 35.
I know, but I'm just like, it's weird to be able to compare that to myself now, you know? Like,
yeah, that's
I
true.
can I'm closer to the age of a random person that dies than the protagonist.
Yeah.
And I'm supposed to relate with the protagonist.
Yeah, totally.
So,
totally.
and I'm still in my mind more the, early 20-something Sarah Connor.
You're never ever going to be anything else. That's the thing.
I
feel
guess
like
that's true.
Everybody gets trapped at around 25 and they're just like, oh, well, I guess this is my shitty personality forever.
Wow, yeah, that's true.
The next scene after this, though, is really cool. Sarah Connor, she's at the restaurant.
Yes.
They find out on the news, and her coworker's so weirdly excited to give her news about how a person with her name is dead, and is like, "You have to come." I guess
thought that gave her personality. I thought that was interesting.
So many people on fucking Instagram would just be like, "Oh, dude, you're on Instagram. You're blowing up on Instagram." If shit like that happened, if a modern Terminator came and killed somebody, and it was viral like that, where it was like somebody was killing a bunch of Sarah Connors.
There were no breadcrumbs to follow when Chocolate Rain went viral.
And then it cuts to Kyle Reese, doesn't it?
Yeah, we see Kyle Reese in the car.
Yeah, he's hot wiring his own car, and then he is next to a bunch of machinery, like cranes and stuff like that. And that I felt like that was a beautifully elegant way of not just invoking trauma of post-traumatic stress disorder of a bunch of machines are fucking hunting me, but the fact that you get that and then a semi flashback where he's fighting the machines and getting away, you're figuring out ways around how to get giving him even more context for the character of what we've seen previously. And there's this amazing thing that I saw in watching it this time, where he Kyle Reese is running and this person pulls up in a car and he awkwardly jumps into the window of the car, taking over the driving position as this person finesses their way to the gun to shoot at that scene was so amazingly delivered.
You took all the words out of my mouth. The attention to detail is phenomenal. I wrote the same thing down. I feel like they established relationship in this
with
scene.
This person. Who is this person? I don't know, but Kyle Reese knows him.
Exactly. And it's so masterfully done in a way that movies just can't seem to do anymore. They can't seem to contain that kind of subtlety.
They can. But the reason giant movies can't really do that is because giant movies are now properties that have to have multiple parts to them. So all of the nuance that we get from character stuff is taken away by people delivering dialogue that could potentially reference another spin-off or a sequel or a prequel or an interquel or whatever. Totally. You know what I mean?
And dude, do you know what I think? I think that when we see Kyle Reese in the beginning and we see burns on his back, that it's from the burns of the flashback of this scene.
Really?
That because the car flips over, remember? In the next scene, the car flips over and explodes and there's fire and he's engulfed in flames and he screams.
That's true. I didn't even think of it in that way. It could be. Because in my mind, the reason it came off as a dream to me was because the implication is that he dies in that. But I guess he's alive.
I think he survived that and he just had burns.
That's a really cool idea. Also, when he fucking wakes up and cocks the gun, that was so awesome.
Oh my god.
I fucking love it. It's so cool because it's oh yeah, I'm on a mission, but also, holy shit, I'm so scared.
And tired.
He must have been
so tired. He's given so much vulnerability. Oh my god, man. Next, we see Sarah and her roommate, Ginger. They're both being young 20-somethings and getting ready to go out on a night on the town. And I loved Ginger so much. She was so charming. Her relationship with her boyfriend seems very healthy, and they seem like they're really
Matt and Ginger. When he calls on the phone and Sarah Connor answers, and he's like, "I want to pull down your whatever with my mouth," and she just is giggling, laughing at this dorky come on, and then she tells Ginger that who is it? The creep is on the phone.
Yeah,
right.
It so delightfully sets up a world where you're I know these people.
Yeah,
I relate to these people.
Totally. And but then what's hilarious is when she's the creep is on the phone and Ginger pulls up the phone to her head. He repeats the exact same thing, which is every guy would do. Every person who's trying to do that is like, and is embarrassed in that way, would fully just be like, well, I already came up with this. I'm not going to fucking come up with something new to hit on this person. You know what I mean?
And no one's creeped out. Everyone's like, it's like understood as like a friendship. Like they show it as a dynamic.
Yeah,
quirk.
it's like those people are people who know each other well enough to be able to either laugh at the silliness of this, or like just like make fun of the person or whatever. The one thing that I wanted to say though is we're actually introduced right before this scene. We're introduced to Ed, the chief.
Oh my god!
And Lance Henriksen,
Paul Winfield,
yes,
who is an amazing actor. And I have to tell you,
is on Star Trek.
He's on Star Trek as the toy that is in your room.
Oh my god!
Dathan,
That's
Darmok, and Jalad.
hilarious.
Yeah, I wanted that was going to be another. How did you guess? So
How did you guess?
The funny thing is, this is my how did you guess for you.
Sure.
How did you guess?
It's not even a how did you guess. I think I've already talked to you about this, but the reason I wanted to bring this up was because our boy Lance Henriksen was supposed to play Terminator.
It's the chance of a lifetime.
I know this. How did you guess? Yeah, this is familiar to me.
And this, but this is the interesting thing, and this is the great thing about the contrast. First of all, actually, let me pull back. O.J. Simpson was supposed to play the Terminator.
I know about this.
But sans being a real murderer, in Lance Henriksen would have been a really cool Terminator.
I think Lance Henriksen would have been a really cool Terminator.
It's a different dynamic, and it is a much more like normal guy
against. If it was Michael Biehn, it would have been normal guy against normal guy.
Normal guy, exactly. But the notion of the forethought that James Cameron, he says this in a bunch of interviews, like the notion that he had the like foresight to be like, this guy is gonna be fucking huge. Like this beyond like fuck Conan, fuck like any movie he's done before this. This like he is gonna be propelled to like superstardom.
The foresight that both Schwartzy and James Cameron had.
JC, John Connor. Jesus Christ.
Jesus Christ.
We're like let's get back to the roommates. One of the things that I found amazing, two things that I found amazing about this scene. So we find out, what's it called? First of all, the fact that they have a gushter, what's a lizard?
Lizard.
Yeah, named Pugsley.
Oh my god.
Just like hanging out and like being like it's again, like weird stuff like that. Like you're not going to get that from a fucking Marvel movie where it's like these weird, again, idiosyncratic moments of like, oh yeah, she's got a lizard. The fuck are you talking? What are you saying?
Yeah.
Somebody would read that now and be like, why is this scene in this?
Yes.
Why? Like, but the fact that like, what's her name? Ginger and Sarah, and Matt and some other dude are supposed to be going out in this scene.
Yes.
And like this dude bails and the fucking Ginger has the best line. She goes,
So what if he has a Porsche? He can't treat you like this. It's Friday night, for Christ's sake.
I was like, this is amazing.
I love
this
that.
Is so like, this is exactly what like where the priorities of a 20-year-old is.
Yeah,
like
totally.
where it's just like, dude, it's Friday. How dare you do this to me? It was pretty awesome.
I completely agree with you, and I love that about this movie. So you know, she feels for her friend, and she's like, oh, this sucks. Like you got stood up. You know, do you want to go out still? And she's like, no, I'm just going to hang out and see a movie or whatever. And so, you know, we get this kind of like, it's really set up really well how deflated she is. And we have that intercut with the scene of like the police being like, hey, people are killing people named Sarah Connor. We have to get in touch with this Sarah Connor, and she's out. She doesn't, you know.
And before she goes out, she sees Matt at the door, and Matt sort of like playfully kisses her, and she's like,
her.
"Yeah, it was so bizarre. Like it was such a weirdly like
tender and earned. Like you didn't feel like it was weird. You didn't feel like it was
creepy or weird.
It was like two friends being affectionate.
Totally. And also in reference to Lance Henriksen fucking calling Sarah Connor, like the machine says, Sarah Connor's like, hey, how's it going? Just kidding. You're talking to a machine. It's like
the machine.
Yeah, stuff like that is really hilarious.
I wrote that down too because you're talking to a machine is such foreshadowing.
Such foreshadowing.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and not just that, but when Lance Henriksen hangs up and Ed, what's the actor's name again?
Paul Winfield.
Paul Winfield.
Darmok. And Jalad. At Tanagra.
When Paul Winfield is like, he's like, I'm going out to make a statement, and Lance Henriksen is he asks Lance Henriksen, like, how do I look? You look like shit, boss. And then he responds, yo mama. It was what? That was amazing. I thought that was, again, dynamics between characters.
It's
like,
all
what the
very
fuck?
earned. It's all very earned, and it's beautifully done. Paul Winfield, to me, is really interesting because he does this thing where he's more annoyed with managing the optics of this situation than he is, because we're meant to feel like LA's got a lot of murders, but none of them are this high profile because I hate the weird ones, Lance Henriksen is like,
that's interesting.
This is like a serial killer situation, where someone is killing one of the same person with the same name, you can see this movie as a slasher film in that regard,
because he's so adamant about being like, okay, we've got a serial killer. I hate the weird ones, but we have an opportunity, and he gets really excited when he finally gets through to the phone call of Sarah Connor.
Totally. So Sarah's in a panic because she sees on the news that, there's a serial killer killing people with the same name, and it's her name. So she freaks out and she goes to Tech Noir, which is the best name for a club I think I've ever heard in my life.
Also not a real place. Also, the name Tech Noir has been used to describe what this movie is.
Oh my god.
Which is great.
That's amazing. I loved how kind of crappy and empty this club was, and also the fact that it cost $4.50 to get in. I thought it was such a cool touch.
What was such an amazing touch about that scene too was the fact that she tries to get in because she's in a panic, and then the lady stops her and is like, hey, it's $4.50, and it's like, oh yeah, totally. This girl doesn't know that this person is being chased by a robot. She's not gonna let some rando into a fucking club.
Totally. But meanwhile, the reason she's scared is because Kyle Reese has been following her. And I thought this was cool because, they make him be subtle enough, but it's also kind of obvious. It's like, dude, you're fucking fully following her and being so creepy.
See, I wrote the exact same. It's like he's fully such a fucking creep, and
he's lurking her.
He's lurking, and it's like it's crazy because he himself is from a sort of optics point of view a pretty handsome dude, but as a dude who's a wide-eyed, scared, thin. He looks like he's just whoa, dude, with smelly pants. Just like this guy who's oh man, this guy's such a fucking creep. This guy is probably the guy.
He's got no social skills either, because we see later on when he does finally interact with her, he doesn't know how to talk to a person.
No, it's very practical, militaristic.
Yeah,
jargon at her.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Not with her. It's at her.
No, he's controlling her.
Yeah.
It's the way that this character would act, I feel he wouldn't have the sense of I need to be an empathetic, good person to this person to make them feel safe. I just need to do my job.
Yeah. I mean, there's stuff later on that I characterize him in a different light than that. I would say that it's not fully that. It's that he's in a mode now that's the mission.
I want to go back to Ginger having finished her sex session. I love this so much.
Making a sandwich.
She goes to make a sandwich, which I thought was, and she's still listening to the Walkman. She had sex with the Walkman on. I thought that was such a funny touch.
Such an outrageous touch. That entire scene, actually, it's good that you brought us back, because that entire scene is actually, I think, the height of horror movie, serial killer, because the music that weird, where she's listening to music in the kitchen. Matt sees fucking the Terminator and tries to fight.
He says,
"Please don't make me bust you up, man."
With the holding a lamp, being like, "Don't make me bust you up, man." Also, have you noticed that in a lot of 80s movies, ADR always sort of sounds like that? "Don't make me bust you up, man."
what are you gonna do? she well, and
he doesn't know that he's a robot.
Exactly. That's what I said. I was like, but he doesn't know.
But also, like the practicality of Ash the robot in the first Alien movie grabbing Yaphet Kotto's nipples.
Yeah. He's strong, but he's strong enough, but he's not that like strong, you know what I mean?
No, he's like not invincible.
He throws him through the door, but he doesn't like throw him like effortlessly through the door.
And also it's like, but he's like constantly throwing him around. You know what I mean? He's like he doesn't get tired. Yeah, he doesn't get tired. So it's just like it's such a bizarre like.
He acted the physicality of that so well, right?
But the best part too is that when this is actually coincides with the scene in Tech Noir too. So it's not like we're sort of hopping back and forth, but it's happening simultaneously.
It is.
And then when she like Ginger is still listening, bringing back the sandwiches to eat with Matt, and then he fucking throws him through the door, and like that's so sad and it's so scary because it's like you see his body and it's like, whoa, dude, that dude is wrecked. And then all of a sudden, he pulls out the gun thinking that it's Sarah Connor, and he shoots
Ginger, which was really sad for me. Like I really felt like I was like, man, I'm attached to this character even though I don't really know anything about her. And she dies, and he kills her execution style the same way he killed the first Sarah Connor.
And then Sarah Connor, while at Tech Noir, is calling her own phone, and it goes,
such a good touch.
Hey, so just joking, you're talking to a machine, and then like you see Arnold, and it's like, man, that's such a good like paralleling of those two lines because
they make it realistic. Like he's not all seeing, all knowing. He doesn't know things through the internet. He just knows what he sees and hears.
He's a detective.
Exactly. And so he gets this call and he hears her leave a message to herself or to her own machine. And he's like, oh, I know that she's at this place. I'm going to go there and kill her there.
Exactly. And not just that, but the fucking line that Sarah Connor delivers in this is, call me, kiddo. I need your help, which is still like a
providing context.
But not just that, still providing a level for us to be like, this chick is still 20 years old and doesn't really understand the severe danger that she's in. Using the term kiddo is such a like great way of like interacting with both her world and us, because it's like, yeah, I'm not that scared because like how the fuck would this guy know where I am?
Exactly.
But at the same time, like I'm still scared, but I'm still trying to like interact with you normally.
It's all so real and feels like it plays out like such a good story.
Yeah.
Such good attention to detail. Another detail is that Schwartzy finds a picture of her in her apartment, so he knows what she looks like.
Not just that, but finds her like pocketbook with her addresses in it for later, which is like so awesome.
So awesome. Such a good touch. Sarah finally gets through to the police, and she tells them she's in the club called Tech Noir, and Paul Winfield tells her to stay there, and Schwartzy arrives. So he goes in without paying.
Left without paying.
And the woman gets so mad at him. And then the music intercuts with like the dangerous music. And what's his face? Kyle Reese is also pulling in, and sneakily, he does this so well, sneakily like attacks, like not make himself known because he knows he's standing out. And just before Schwartzy's about to shoot Sarah Connor...
Wait. No. You have to describe this scene in full, because what happens is Schwartzy comes in and fucking Sarah Connor accidentally tips over a weird Canada Dry glass. And as Schwartzy's walking away, she goes down, bends down, is not seen, and Schwartzy doesn't fucking see her. And passes by her.
True.
It's so fucking good.
That's true. The club starts freaking out when Schwartzy gets shot.
Well, he actually pulls out when she comes back up, he pulls out the gun to her, and then like in slow motion, like in the first Sarah Connor, like aims it at her head, and then fucking Kyle Reese shoots him.
My God.
And but the best part about showing the strength of the Terminator is that he has to shoot him like 5 fucking times before he goes down. It's so awesome.
Totally. And I love how Kyle says to Sarah, come with me if you want to live, in kind of like a very panicked wiener, sort of like not confident way, that where it's just like, I'm scared too, this situation is fucked, but I live like this. Like, it told a story.
Not just that, but also immediately after, like, come with me if you want to live is panicky, but then all of a sudden it gets even more panicky right after that. And he's just like, come on, right?
And she looks up and she notices, they show this through pictures, she just notices on her face, like, oh my God, like, that guy didn't die. What is going on? So she sees something's wrong. That's the horror of this moment, right?
Totally.
So they get in a car and he jumps on the hood of the car, and we get the parallel scene from part 2. I mean, I know the part 2 didn't exist yet, but like where he smashes through the glass and he grabs her. I rewound this scene. The look on her face when she screams, she's like, ah, like she looks so really scared.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, Linda Hamilton is a master actor.
Yeah, she's so good.
Bonkers. I loved it.
Also, apparently in the audio commentary, how they did that scene where he punches through the glass is they put a plate of metal in the glove and he actually punches through the glass, which is insane.
Wow. Yeah. What a night. That's another how did you guess?
Yeah.
How did you guess?
Schwartzy is on this car and Kyle smashes into another car to get him off. And so understandably, a cop stops and he's like, hey, he calls it in. And Schwartzy hears his voice and he smashes him and then takes his car and he uses his voice to talk into the intercom. I love Schwartzy stealing voices.
The interesting part about Schwartzy stealing voices is also a way to sort of circumvent him talking. Because like people are still like so big on like
the accent,
his accent.
Who cares?
Yeah, it's like who cares? But also when Kyle Reese and Sarah Connor are driving away, and he's like just yelling what would be nonsense to a person, like where it's like, he's the Terminator.
It's totally not believable. It totally sounds like somebody who's not well, telling you like nonsense, and you're just like, I need to get away from this person now.
She says the line, please don't hurt me. It's so sad.
It's so like real.
So sad. Yeah,
it's such a real moment. And then he grabs her, remember? And is that this scene?
Yeah,
she bites him?
Yeah, she tries to. Well, like he like they like pull in after
into a garage, right?
Yeah, and like he like calms down somewhat, and is like explaining a bit of his history, a bit of like what a Terminator is, what the previous incarnations of these Terminators looked like rubber skin.
Yeah,
and they were like easily spottable, and this one had the like specification of like hair, bad breath, like what sweat. It's like stuff that's like detailed in a way that's like, yeah, of course, like you'd think to yourself, this one of these people interacted with this close enough to be like, oh, he's got bad breath.
It's an infiltration unit. Yeah, he calls it an infiltration unit, so it's meant to be as human as possible, which is interesting to think about. Yeah, I thought that he's also a metal object with like living skin around it.
Yeah.
That's cool, like they don't explain the mechanics of that, but they don't have to. Like,
and also like one of her first questions to him is like, how did that man get up when he got shot, right?
Exactly.
And then that like after explaining all these things where she tries to sort of escape, and like she pushes open the car door, Kyle Reese grabs her and pulls her towards him, and then she bites his hand and then says, Kyle Reese pulls away and he says, Terminators don't feel pain, I do. Don't do that again.
Right.
Also the fact that he says really throwaway line, a really intense throwaway line. He goes, one possible future, I don't know, the tech stuff, where it was like beautiful, perfect, do fucking that.
Exactly.
Where it's just like, we're all thinking at this point, like, wait, what? How did this happen? Is this the real future? Is this an alternate future? Fully with one line, just gets rid of all of that.
Dude, I mean, that's what Star Trek The Next Generation did all the time. They did the one line explanation.
Totally. Also, Leela had this hilarious thing where she was like, in the moment, she was like, does he have to be so aggressive? Like Kyle Reese, does he have to be so aggressive? And I was like, yes, he was born into a nuclear holocaust and his entire life has been a travesty at this point.
I agree that it totally makes sense for the writing of the characters. I believe that this movie is written really well. Like, it's very believable.
Yeah.
All of it.
It fully couches every outrageous thing with full believability.
I like that he's not even sure that he can stop it. He's like, with these weapons, I don't know.
Yeah, where she asks him, can you stop it? And it's like, fuck, dude, like, that's a tall order, man. Like, I can't do that.
The touch of him driving a police car is so good, and they continued that into the second movie where they use like this idea of like, you know, to serve and protect,
to contrast what actually police do, which is not serve and protect.
Exactly. And like they kind of give it this like, you know, like, oh, these are the ones, you know, you're meant to like kind of implicitly trust the police. Like the police are supposed to signify ultimate good, but they're contrasting it with like this, like, you know, like it's a bad guy using this signifier of good.
I mean, not just that, but the imagery itself of like, you know, Kyle Reese as homeless and you know, or Schwartzy being wrapped in this police car. You know what I mean?
So did Schwartzy burn off his eyebrows in the production? Is that the story?
I don't know.
He doesn't have
eyebrows because of the what's it called? What was it?
He gets hurt, right? Or burned in a certain way?
Yeah, he gets, and then it singes his hair too.
So he's wearing a wig.
Yeah, he is wearing a wig.
And it looks like such a wig, dude. Like you could just...
I love that wig. I think that looks really good on him.
And then when he touches it in that one scene...
We'll get to that. That was one of my favorite scenes in the movie.
Okay, so they find a new car, and Sarah asks, why me? And he further explains that there was a nuclear war, everything's gone, and no one knows why anything was started. And they kind of piece together that this defense network called Cyberdyne started the war, and it was hooked into everything. And then it saw people as a threat. It was AI, and it thought it wanted to neutralize the threat. So it killed the remainder of people. Like it put the remainder of people in camps and then kept people around to work in the camps.
That's the weird thing. This is where, like, in my mind, the sort of modern view of like AI in general sort of peaks for me in a way where it's like, this doesn't feel like it's real. Because like getting rid of bodies using other bodies as opposed to having machines that do all the work just seems like such a bizarre thing of like, it would have been interesting to like sort of posit whether or not the machine wanted to torture people.
Right.
Because it learned from humans to torture people.
Well, this is why I always think that the first Terminator could have been a prequel to The Matrix. It uses, stores the remaining humans as batteries for its own energy. So it like ironically has to use like human energy and cultivate human cells.
Right. Also,
but stimulates their minds so that they can like have is that what we're meant to believe from The Matrix?
I mean, The Matrix has its own like story, right?
They're spiritual sequels.
They're not spiritual sequels. They already have sequels now that have ruined the first two for us.
That's true. So Kyle grew up in those ruins, and I guess Sarah's noticing more of a story for him, and kind of we already noticed that she's kind of, you know, really believing this. They're developing this relationship very well, very fast, right? Am I right?
They do a really good job at like making you understand that, oh yeah, like we need to get this economy of storytelling going where it's like, okay, they've met. They also do a really good job of like being like, this is a traumatic situation, and in trauma, like people tend to like bond.
That's true.
Because they go through a really intense
What's that
experience.
called? Not Stockholm Syndrome. What's the other one? It's I forget.
Yeah.
What is it called? Fuck, we're going to find out after. But she finds out about her son, John Connor, and that's cool. It's a cool thing to find out about your unborn son, who's supposed to be like a great military leader. And this is perfect because he tells exposition in this really exciting way where we're like waiting for them to be found. And while they're waiting to be found, he's explaining a story. And then they're found and the story continues. So good, so smart. He finds them. Schwartzy finds them and he starts shooting and they're driving through this fucking garage. And it's amazing car scenes. It's amazing car chases. It feels so exciting, but so like it could really happen. Like it felt like I didn't feel like it was stunt drivers. It felt like real people driving real cars and really having like a fight off in this car, you know?
Yeah.
And they drive away and Schwartzy crashes into a wall and escapes. Mm-hmm. And they're surrounded by police. So this was so good because they flip it to
Kyle Reese tries to get this was a really cool scene when Kyle like is like, okay, I'm in military mode, I'm gonna go fight the police. And she pulls him back and she's like, no, they'll kill you. That was sick.
Yes. And so she saves him. She saves his life.
She does. She fully does. Like I was like, oh, okay, like this is like she's already starting to develop this like, oh yeah, she is. Of course, she's going to be the Mother Mary to JC. You know what I mean?
Right. Jesus Christ. Yeah, that's true.
Jesus Christ.
So we get introduced to Dr. Silberman in this next scene.
Good morning, Dr. Silberman. How's the knee?
Because she's in the police office, and Paul Winfield is like, "This is Dr. Silberman," and
he goes, hi, Sarah. Like, it's the most dickish way where it's just like, dude, you're such a casual dick in this movie.
He's established as such a resting douche, and he's just so, like, condescending, and they give him such a personality, which mirrors into the second one, but he's grown into, like, older dick, where he's, like, more conservative and, like, believes himself. Here, he's more of a younger, like, well, you know, I just finished med school and now I'm going to be a police investigative therapist or whatever, right? Is that what he is?
I guess he's supposed to be like a trauma person or something,
that's
right?
Cool. It's
and
cool.
He's just like, but he's such a dick.
Oh my God. He's so wrong for his job. And he's like, Reese is crazy. And I see it's so cool how Sarah doubts herself here because she's like, you know, like, fuck, maybe he's crazy. Like, I can't believe I almost believe this shit, you know?
Yeah, but you want to grasp at straws, right? You want to be like, oh, okay, it's more like I deserve to have the safety of being around police while like this external threat actually fucking exists. And I would do the same thing. I'd fully want to believe
oh my
that,
God,
like,
me too.
I'm in this, like, oh yeah, I'm safe now.
My God, dude, next scene, was one of the scenes I was most excited to talk to you about because Schwartzy enters a crappy motel and we're led to believe, I guess, that he got a room in this motel, but they never show it. I love this dude. He has a goobery eye and he's plasticine. We get to see fucking puppet Schwartzy.
He's a puppet.
And he's taken a lot of damage and he takes an X-Acto knife and cuts his arm open. And I love the way the meat is just like spread out because it would be that haphazard. He doesn't care about the meat.
Yeah, for sure.
He's like, I'm just a robot. I need to do this job.
Yeah, I need to fix my arm.
He's still passing as human. Like he's like, whatever, I don't care.
Well, this is the funny thing is that Leela, who's studying to be a nurse, was like, ew. And I was like, dude, you tell me stories, like gross stories all the time. And she was just like, yeah, but that's like work Leela. That's like school Leela. And I'm like, this is like me. That's like why I don't get screwed. This is work, Alex.
You can compartmentalize that shit, I guess. I mean, that's a really effective quality to have as a nurse. Next scene, it's intercut with Dr. Silberman. He makes the retroactive abortion comment, which I thought was such a funny line.
Such a good line.
Sort of retroactive abortion.
It's such a good line to give like a clever douche. You know what I mean?
Because he was like, huh. That was really smart.
Exactly.
I'm so glad they're recording this because I want them to get that line.
Yeah. Lance Henriksen glances over, which I thought was so funny because he also finds the dad joke to be funny.
I wrote this line down too. He goes, this guy Silberman cracks me up. Like, it's so fucking outrageous.
It's funny that they add that there are people in this world who think this douchey guy who thinks he's cool is cool.
I know. But you know what? Like, the funny thing is Silberman, in talking to what's his name, Kyle Reese.
Yeah.
Kyle Reese is so in it in a way that's like don't believe me. It's not about I believe me.
Yeah, he
and Silverman
care.
is just like, well, this guy's fucking nuts. Like,
he's so
dismissive of everything that he says, and it's just like, but the way he says where he's like some sort of retroactive abortion.
Sort of retroactive abortion?
Where it's like, you're such a fucking dick. I want to punch you so fucking hard. But Kyle Reese also doesn't seem to understand, like, sarcasm at all.
Yeah, because he wouldn't know about it.
He would know that this guy was not treating him seriously. This guy is being nice to him from his perspective.
You know what this reminded me of? This reminded me of 12 Monkeys. How
it's like he's talking to a fucking kid.
That's true.
It's like he's talking to a kid.
How Bruce Willis is talked to, he doesn't know the societal. Terry Gilliam presented it differently, but it's the same sort of sentiment of like, I don't know your world.
Yeah.
They just showed it in different ways.
Yeah, yeah. And I could see a lot of parallels between that movie. But yeah, like, it's like...
Schwartzy cuts out his goo eye, and then and the drops of blood, and the like taking out this like
part, and then taking out the lens or whatever of the it's like body horror.
Yeah,
and then he drops it in the puddle, and then puts his glasses on in his crappy puppet body.
He's a puppet.
And then fixes his hair in the fucking mirror. That I loved because I was like, it seemed
pragmatic.
Like not just pragmatic, but it fully seemed like Schwartzy did that like as an improv.
Dude,
I'm gonna fix my hair.
One thing that I wanted to tell you about is the eye acting that he does, like how he's scanning.
How did you guess?
I saw him do an interview where he explained that he's
like a security
camera. He was doing like a
shark.
scanning machine. Yeah,
where his eyes would move first and then his head would move.
Exactly.
Just like that shit is cool. I love that. I saw that too.
Exactly. So Paul Winfield gives Sarah Connor a bulletproof vest. He encourages her to sleep on the couch, and he's being very sweet to her. Like, he was like, okay, this young woman is clearly very troubled. I want to, like make sure she feels safe. So he's like, you're fine. Don't worry about it. You're in a police station.
Wait, hold on.
Okay.
The scene actually starts with, for some reason, they felt it appropriate to bring Sarah Connor in to watch her friend go insane on camera.
Yes, you're right. I totally skipped that.
Looks into the camera and goes, he'll find her. That's all he does. He'll find her and rip her fucking heart out. Let go of me. And then he pauses.
He'll find her. That's what he does. That's all he does! You can't stop him! He'll wait for you, reach down her throat, and pull her fucking heart out!
Doc.
Let go of me!
Best line delivery, best line of the movie.
God. I agree. I know you've always loved this line.
I love the line. Let me
I think it's so good because he's a wiener. Like, he's not like a brave, strong, muscly guy. He's a scared, scrappy, like random dude from the
animal.
future.
He's like a feral animal.
It's true.
Like trying to escape a situation that's not of his doing.
It's true. And we're led to believe that John Connor knows about his dad. So he finds the guy with the name that he knows already beforehand.
Totally.
And basically raises the kind of person that he would like to have as a father figure.
Yeah, totally.
Isn't that incredible?
It is incredible. And again, Why did they think it was okay to have Sarah watch this video?
I don't know. That was
so outrageous.
Weird, but it's cool. It's cool world building. And then, we have Paul Winfield be very tender towards Sarah.
Yeah, he gives her the bulletproof vest and is like, this is probably what the guy who was chasing you was wearing. Like, so calm.
Exactly.
So normal.
Exactly.
Like, where it's like, yeah, of course, there's a normal explanation for this. Some guy wearing a fucking bulletproof vest. And then, but how did he punch through the window? And then fucking Lance Henriksen goes, PCP. There was a guy one time, you see this scar, interrupts himself to be like, that's how people tell fucking stories. That's how we do podcasts.
Exactly.
We interrupt ourselves all the fucking time. That's what I mean. Like,
exactly. No, you're right.
Interesting. That, like, just that little subtlety of like, this one guy one time, you see this scar because he remembers something about the time and this guy probably gave him this scar. I loved shit like that.
Lance Henriksen was so good, did so much with so little in this movie, and I just thought he's a fucking delight.
Also, by the way,
Anna called him Millennium.
He is Millennium, but not just that. He also, funny enough, got to eventually play a robot for James Cameron.
Bishop, hey man,
That's true. He was another iconic robot.
Yeah.
Okay.
Think of what we can do with it.
Dude. Schwartzy comes in, and this is the famous scene. He asks for Sarah Connor in a very pragmatic way. He's like, I just want to see Sarah Connor, basically. That's what he's saying.
No. He goes, I'm a friend of Sarah Connor's. It's like,
I'm a friend of Sarah Connor. I was told that she's here. Could I see her, please?
Who? You?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, and it's so normally delivered, too. It's like, I'm a friend of Sarah Connor's. Somebody told me she was here. Can I see her, please?
Oh, pragmatic
it's so
robot.
Outrageous.
Wow.
It's so outrageous.
It's a really manipulative, like.
It's so. I was told she was here, and it's like, oh yeah, like a cop might have called or whatever. The receptionist.
That's
guy.
Very perceptive
it's
of you.
Really
I did
cool.
not write that down.
It's really cool. But
then when that fails, he's just like, all right. He says his famous line,
I'll be back.
And he just goes, all right, I guess I'm going to drive a fucking car through this
the
mall.
Police station.
And the guy dies. That guy
fully dies.
Because I love how he just goes back and they cut.
Yeah. Yeah. He goes back and then they drives through and then you see the dummy.
He's a puppy.
Yeah.
But the dummy's pretty good. I think the dummy's pretty good. But the funny thing is that because it's so HD, when he leans into the window to go, I'll be back, you see that his eye is still there, which is hilarious. But it's like, nobody's like looking at the fucking 35 and just like, oh fuck, the eye is still there or whatever,
Dude, it's a total massacre. He kills everyone.
Not just that.
Everyone.
Not just that, but the cool, an interesting part, man, Americans have apparently always been afraid of terrorists because there's a line where somebody goes, what is it, a terrorist or something? Like, wow. I thought that was like a post 9/11 thing.
No.
And it was like fully like, oh shit, like that brings like, whoa, dude.
People talked about terrorists in the 80s. Yeah. My God, man. I love when Paul Winfield is like, stay in here. He's like panicked himself.
Yeah.
And he says to Sarah Connor to stay in here after he had just made her feel so safe.
Yeah.
Such a cool contrast. The synths are divine. It's total pandemonium. He kills everyone and then like practically also another pragmatic robot move electrocutes the circuit
fuse
board
box or whatever.
Yeah. And like blows all the fuses and everything's dark. And then someone's trying to get into the room Sarah's locked in and smashes the window and we don't know who it is. And of course it's Kyle Reese. And they're so happy to see each other.
So happy to see each other. And
I love this.
The way he comes in, also so panicky, and he's like, Sarah. Yeah, it's just like you can hear it in their voice, and she's like clenching, like just at herself, being like, "Fuck, dude! Like I'm gonna die right now," and then is like ecstatic that this person
totally
is like here.
I love the touch when they escape and they've driven away. On the radio, they're listening to the largest manhunt is underway, and it's basically like it's about what just happened with Schwartzy shooting up a police station. That would be huge news.
That would be giant.
That would be, and so I like that that's referenced in the second movie as an event in this
totally. It was
timeline.
like it's like what's it called? Yeah, like a shooting.
Yeah.
Except now that shootings happen in America every day, it's like, which shooting?
Yeah, exactly. They'd be like,
oh, you know, with that Austrian robot.
Oh yeah, the Austrian robot.
Oh yeah,
shooting.
that guy.
Sarah's cold. It's nighttime, and they've reached some destination. And he comes the kind of comforter. Where are they? I was confused.
They're
by
like
this.
under an underpass or something. They're
Why
under
didn't they
a bridge.
stay in a car? Like, why didn't they just sleep in the car?
I guess because the implication is if they're sleeping in a car, somebody might find them, call the police, and then he might somehow find them. Whereas this, there's no trace of them. There's no way. Like, it's harder to hide a car. I thought that same thing, but then I was like, oh, it's harder to hide a car than it is to hide yourself, right?
That's a good call.
This is also like a super tender scene between them because they like she's cold, he's like, oh, let me come warm you, baby. Not in a creepy way, but because he's probably cold too. But the interesting line comes from this scene where she's like, what's it like going through time?
Yeah.
And he's like, it's a white light, and then he says, it's like being born, maybe.
Yeah.
And it's like there's a lot. He's like, there's a bright light, there's a lot of pain.
I love
it's
that.
like being born, maybe, but like the maybe, it's just like, whoa, dude, like this guy's like profound enough to be like, oh no, that maybe just like my own view of what that might be like, but that's crazy.
This guy's lived through the existential terror of the apocalypse, basically.
Yeah.
And now he's in a time that isn't like that, and he's still in that panic.
Yeah, he's
mode,
like reflexive in that way. Like
exactly,
you're reflecting on your own experience. It doesn't matter whether or not the experience is different.
To the point that he's actually shot. We find out, and he's like, "It's nothing." Because he's probably been shot before.
Yeah.
And Sarah's like, no, I have to dress this wound. And she dresses her first wound. But they add this nice touch of her wanting to be distracted. So she wants to hear more about her son.
That actually happens, I think, a little later, no?
Oh, does it? Okay.
It doesn't matter. It's interesting because when she's dressing the wound and she's like, I'm not used to this. Talk to me. Distract me from this. Because
Kyle says your son left you a message. You must be stronger than you can imagine. Isn't this so cool?
Totally. But something that's really, really hilariously uncool about this scene is when he's like, when she's like, describe to me what John looks like, and he's like, well, he's like about my height. He's got your eyes. And it's like, what is this description?
That's
like,
hilarious.
Who is this?
Yeah, that was a little silly.
It was great. I loved it. I loved it because, like, again, it's like a social skills thing. It's like, what? Like, he's my height. You know what I mean?
And then we get an amazing flashback because he's telling her about what the future's like. And I'm like, man, I wouldn't want to know about this future because we're back in the dangerous part. And we see the soldiers in this bunker, and dogs are like smelling Kyle as he's entering this bunker, and he's being playful with kids, which was so cool.
This is what I mean by the empathy thing. Remember when you were like, oh, it's like he's not... This adds context for the fact that he's like actually like a really sweet dude.
Well,
like,
it shows the relation briefly in a scene in the future,
in an image where like, you know, that little boy is like shooting a gun and he like pulls out his, which was also so weird. It's like, whoa, dude, kids really still like guns in this fucked up future.
But we're also getting a very bleak vision of, you know, kids watching a television, but we find out it's a flame.
Oh.
Such a wicked reveal.
Yeah.
People are crying. It looks very grim. And then kids are hunting for rats, and Kyle pulls out a picture of Sarah, which is wicked because she's with that German Shepherd, which is another nice touch callback to like dogs in this movie and the relationship that dogs have with humans and Terminators in this movie. Love that. Such a sweet touch.
Yeah, totally.
And suddenly, without warning, a T800 pushes like two guys, like I guess that it used as decoys, just uses human shields, pushes them through and starts killing everyone. And there's a fire and the picture burns and we cut back.
Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah. It's very cool. And it's like, you know, we have like exploration of like, this is what the pulse rifles look like. This is what, like, we're given context for things that are set up so much earlier in the movie, where it's like, these are the weapons that we used to deal with. This is the stuff that we have to deal with in this like archaic past of not being in the future.
Intercut with this, we get the old grumpy motel owner that's like, what the fuck is that smell? Because if it was flesh that was rotting on his body, it would smell so bad.
Such a good scene, too.
Oh my God, I loved it so much.
It's like, again, like stuff like that where it's like, oh yeah, context. Like, let me think through completely the logical progression of like cutting my own eye out and surviving.
Yeah.
Like you see, and like they have flies on him.
Yes.
And like the motel cleaner guy knocks on the door and he's like, hey buddy, you got a dead cat in there or something? And Schwartzy fucking through his like red vision
goes for a Rolodex
scans through the appropriate answers to give and lands on "fuck you, asshole."
Fuck you, asshole.
Which is a great like laugh line, but also services the plot so well.
Totally.
It's
and
awesome.
He used something that he learned. We get established that he's like a learning computer, right?
Exactly.
Which was a wicked touch too.
Most of the lines seem like he just learned throughout most of the movie, right?
And he does really seem to adapt very well. Like the scene that you brought up with him saying like, she's a friend of mine.
Oh yeah.
That's such a cool touch.
That's such a weirdly like
to use
specific
empathy.
thing. Yeah.
So Kyle and Sarah get their own motel and he flashes a bunch of money.
Oh, dude.
Which he's like, is this enough? And she's like, please don't tell me how you got that.
Yeah, like
it's such a throwaway.
So
wicked,
awesome. Not just that, but like the fact that he pulls it out, it looks like the crunchiest money. And it's just like, no, gross, dude.
And we see like a difference in priorities here because Sarah's like, fuck, I need a shower. And Anna said to me, like, he's probably never had a shower in his life.
That's why I was like, in this way of watching it so specifically, I was like, this dude probably smells so bad.
And like, he probably, all his teeth would be rotting.
All his teeth. He wouldn't be brushing his teeth.
Terrifying. Like he would be to a person in the 1980s who's like a yuppie-ish person. He would be terrifying. I think.
Yeah.
So like, I mean, I get her fear in the beginning. That was good, but they made him prettier than he would actually be, I think.
I mean, that's like looking like at Tarzan and being like, why don't you have a beard, dude? Or
that's
like,
true,
why aren't your knuckles like calloused? And why is your body like destroyed from walking like an ape? You know what I mean?
True,
like,
that's true.
like all those things.
His like bones would be like probably like changed.
Yeah.
Sarah calls her mom. She makes the rookie move of calling her mom. And we, you know, it's a known thing that the Terminator tries to find people who are related to the person.
Not just find people, but like took it from the notebook in the fucking beginning of the movie, in the first act of the movie, just fully setting up the fact that he took her ID and he took her pocketbook.
Terminator did recon work.
Yeah.
So he's like, she probably will call her mom. So we're meant to believe that he killed her mom. He probably killed her mom, stole her voice, and then he was talking on the other line with her.
And the most interesting thing that I noticed about this is that it fully pays homage to horror movies by being in a cabin in the woods. Like
That's
her
true.
mom is in a cabin in the woods and the monster got her.
That's
right.
True.
Like
That's
it's just
true.
like a little
It's
touch.
A trope.
Yeah, it's just like a little touch that was like, well, it's not like this really, but we're gonna like nod to it, you know?
And dude, Kyle has gotten supplies. He's gonna teach her how to make
plastique.
bombs.
Do you remember we were obsessed with plastique?
Well, because I mean, the amount plastique was used in the 90s and the 80s, like plastic explosives, like I thought it was going to be a major part of my life. I was like,
just like quicksand and jungles.
Yes, exactly.
And falling off cliffs where you have to pull yourself up.
Yeah, exactly. I never need the upper body strength of falling off of a cliff. So Kyle admits that he's never had sex.
I wrote this down too, yeah.
And this was so cool. Sarah's thirsty
for more.
For comfort in this scene. And she starts asking about women. And he's like, they're good. They're good fighters. They're courageous. That was so cool. He was like, you know, really cool. Like, I just know these people. Women are people that I know that are fighters.
They're proles, just like me.
It really set up this like social difference of like different priorities. Like she's like,
you mean now versus, or like quote unquote present versus
2029 future,
2027 future.
Oh yeah, where he's like doesn't know. Yeah, I thought this was such
it was also so weird to be like, so dude, like, I mean, it's like, dude, what do you mean? Like, did he just tell you how terrible the future was?
I mean, I feel like she's really like into. I feel like they do this thing with her where this kind of like savior, like she feels saved and she's like grateful. So she's kind of maybe like traumatized and wants sex for comfort.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And also like just to think that like one of the only creature comforts that would exist in the future would probably be sex, right?
Yeah, totally.
Like what else? You can't smoke,
kids.
you can't
drink. They have a bunch of kids, so they probably have sex. Yeah, that's probably the only joy in their miserable, nuclear Holocaust lives. That would suck so
And
bad.
also, like, I feel like everybody would actually be fucking gross.
Oh my, all the time.
Like everybody would just look like a Cronenberg creature.
I agree completely.
Because of the nuclear.
And he tells her that he disconnects from pain. So she really wants to be tender to him in this scene and to show him love. And I really feel like this scene like earns that. And he tells her, he admits a bombshell to her that Anna says, like, if a guy that you just met told you that, it would sound so creepy and so weird. But the movie makes it make sense. He tells her that John has given him a picture of her and that he's loved her his whole
forever
life.
Yeah, it sounds like a little incel-y if it in the wrong context.
Totally.
But like, I mean, yeah, I like, barring not taking away the wrong message from that, it is a very romantic thing. Like it's like an across time romantic thing.
I agree.
It's like,
I agree.
oh yeah,
it's played that way. It's played that way, and I think
it's a romantic idea rather than
with the trauma. I think it earns it. You know, like she's clearly very traumatized.
Yeah.
And so is he. They're both very broken people in different ways.
Well,
to
now
different degrees.
Now they're broken. Now she's broken. He's just a broken person.
Exactly.
She's relatively normal.
I agree.
Like for the most part.
I agree. Like she's a well-adjusted person, but she's traumatized by the situation.
But she also has this moment in that part that this is when you can tell that she's a broken person and she's never going to get fixed, is when she's like, this is never going to go away. This is never going to stop. Because not even if they kill the Terminator.
For sure. She knows her life is different for the rest of her life now. Because her life has changed. Like she knows she's the mother of a future leader. And she believes it to whatever degree, like she's really traumatized by, or she's shaken by this news. I love the sex scene. It's very tender.
It's a nice sex scene.
The romantic piano version of the theme. Blum, bum, bum.
Yeah.
Blum, bum, bum. I love it. I love it so much. And the squeezing the sheets, I thought was like cheesy, but also like very sweet. Like, they're both holding each other's hands on the sheets and they're showing like, they can't show the sex the way that I guess, like
we
they have
see some boobies.
Well, yeah, we do see some boobies. And like they have some, but they have to show it in that Hollywood way. They don't show it the way real sex is.
Yeah.
But yeah, John is conceived in this scene. It's
true.
fucking wicked.
That's true.
So they're getting dressed and wicked touch. German Shepherd is outside barking at German Austrian guy who's coming towards this motel, and it's Schwartzy, and he just starts shooting. Like he doesn't.
Yeah, he breaks the door and just immediately starts shooting around in the room.
And we get tense, like synth music. That's, oh my god, this music is unbelievable. Who did this score? I
don't even know.
It's unbelievable. Schwartzy, like, they get into a huge pickup and they smash him. And he gets on a motorcycle and chases them. The car chases in this movie are amazing. He's shooting an Uzi. Like, all the action feels like earned and not boring and not like just for the sake of having action. It's like, okay, this is an action scene because this is like them getting away from him trying to get them.
Yeah, and also in the scene right before, they like he teaches her how to make bombs and stuff like that, which is like a nice sort of prelude to like how she ends up being so militarized in the next one. But like also like, again, setting up like this stuff will be used in the next scene. You know what I mean?
And another thing that you mentioned earlier comes back. He asks her to drive so that he can throw bombs at Schwartzy, because he knows that he could do that. And he's like, you can do this right now. Let's switch roles.
Totally.
It was such a wicked touch.
Yeah.
He's like exploding dynamite over right in front of the motorcycle, and Schwartzy shoots Kyle, and Kyle is zonked, and we lose the benefit of having this future trained soldier, and Sarah's kind of on her own now.
Yeah, she has to. This is sort of like, I have to take my role now of, this is the beginning of like
me being this
person.
Exactly.
And the funny thing is, it's also a reminder that our like meaty shit bodies are shitty and like crappy. So when they get shot,
well,
like when they're not grazed by a bullet, when they're fully shot, it's like, oh no, I'm like, this really hurts.
Exactly. For all of his like kind of ability to brave the bullet that he was struck by before, he can't do it anymore. He's only human. And this movie reminds us of the humanity of itself so much, which is, I think, one of its greatest strengths. The truck flips over and Schwartzy gets knocked off his motorcycle and he gets smashed by a Mack truck. And
it's like a tanker, right?
Exactly. I love the reoccurring theme of like these Mack trucks in this movie and in part 2. And he starts chasing them with the Mack truck. And Kyle stays behind.
Wait. Before killing 2 people in the Mack truck and having been hit by the Mack truck and scraped along the floor.
So now he has battle damage.
Yeah, exposed metal under his face.
Exposed metal face, which the exposed metal face is such an iconic image that no wonder Schwartzy became the unsung hero of this movie.
Yeah, for sure.
He for sure knew that he was going to sell this movie with zero actual his dialogue, basically, other than "I'll be back," which is the most iconic line of all time in any movie.
Yeah. And he's also just like, the iconography is all his. He's the metal guy underneath. He's the scratched up face. He's the missing eye. And he's himself. He's just pure iconography throughout the entire thing.
And Kyle's hurt in this scene, so he knows. He stays back and throws a bomb into the back of the truck while Sarah runs toward a factory, and the truck explodes. And this is so cool because, we get this cathartic scene of this huge explosion that it's all encompassing. Like the way it's shot is, it looks like hell. Basically, the fire is surrounding every mile of the scene, of the frame, and she's relieved, but she's also so broken. And the machine gets out and it's melting, and we see Skeletor Schwartzy fall down, and just like turn into gradually a more Skeletor and then stop moving.
Yeah. And then Kyle Reese comes out of the garbage can that he jumps into to avoid the explosion. And they have a moment of like pure, like, oh my God, it's finally over. Potentially this is like, over. And then all of a sudden, in like classic horror movie fashion, like the monster comes back into frame and he's just fully alive. And now a full monster too.
Oh, now
like so scary.
Exactly. This is like the true horror part of this. Like it's really played for that kind of horror feel too. He's dragging his leg. He's a little bit hobbled, but he's still going. And you see the determination of this machine just wanting to complete its task, and just the existential terror of like a machine versus a flesh and blood human,
Yeah.
And Kyle and Sarah break into this factory, and this was weird because it's like some kind of like press factory. What is it? Like,
I don't know.
There's a bunch of presses. I mean, I guess you're not supposed
Who cares?
You're
It's
not supposed
weird,
to question it.
and it's great.
But Kyle turns on all the machines to confuse the machine, which was a cool touch, but also like, Would that work? I mean, I guess he could filter out these other sounds.
I think so. But also the implication is maybe he's malfunctioning. Yeah, I think it was still a good tactical move to be like, oh, okay, yeah.
He uses anything he can.
Anything
it's like a scrappy. That goes back to the scrappy thing.
Exactly. And then we've got the scene where
the classic busting down the door.
Oh, he's busting down the door,
like hammering through, like the here's Johnny kind of moment. Yeah,
crappily bending towards the
smashing his
head against the wall. But I love when she's trying to get Kyle Reese up. He's like sort of given up. And she's like, on your feet, soldier.
So good.
So good.
The red eyes.
She becomes a badass. She becomes a badass.
This is where
she's like, okay, now I have to take care of you because you took care of me.
Exactly.
And then, the really interesting thing is when the like robot Schwartzy finally breaks in and is chasing them. Kyle Reese gets up, he has like a bar with him to like hit him, and then he goes,
I love the bar.
He goes, run, Sarah, and she goes, no.
Yes.
That was cool. That was really cool.
Yeah, because she like has she got him on her feet. That was the turnaround. That was her like self-actualization moment where she's like, I'm now like in the mode that you've been in your whole life.
Yeah.
She's in survival mode and she's like, I'm going to take care of fucking business now. Yeah. And you're my person now.
Yeah.
Like we're surviving this together.
And then Kyle Reese is like smashing the robot on the head and he's like, but you could tell when the puppet is in it. And I love the puppet because like the awkward movements of like somebody controlling it under the camera is great.
But then so good.
But then there was some points where it was like wildly manic and it looked like a person. Like it looked like how I would see a robot like that moving under flesh to move like a person.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is really cool.
And one of the things I thought was really believable about the way Terminator is defeated is Kyle uses his last ounce of strength to put a bomb in the side of the Terminator and blows the Terminator up and dies doing that.
Yeah.
And then Sarah has survived. She's got shrapnel in her leg. She pulls it out.
I love this because not just that she pulls it out. How it's revealed that she's got shrapnel in her leg is that the camera's at a low angle and it's covered like her what is this part called?
Calf.
The calf is covering the fact that she's got like a shrapnel in her leg, and then she tries to move and it's like aching, and then she moves her leg and you see that there's this giant blood pool. And I was like, that's so cool, like the way they like made it seem like nothing happened to her, but then to reveal that everything terrible has happened to her. Not only is Kyle Reese dead, not only does she have shrapnel on her leg, but still the fucking robot is alive.
Still alive. Exactly.
And not just that, but he drags himself over the corpse of her lover, you know?
Exactly.
And it's like, it's great.
And it's great. And so, we have this kind of earned moment of like this person who doesn't have training, but now has the adrenaline and the will to survive, is now able to take on this thing in her own way.
Totally.
So she's escaping it, luring it into like that press machine.
Totally. And also another thing that I noticed just before we get to the climax and the end of the movie, the guy who was a virgin who had sex in a horror movie died.
Incel dies?
No, not that. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like how like in horror movies,
trope of the
virgin who has the person who has sex in a movie. Like we already know, fucking Sarah Connor's they reversed
the genders. Yeah, that's cool.
And he fully just dies.
That's
and it's
interesting.
I've
never thought of that.
Granted, like maybe I'm reaching. Maybe I'm like thinking about that way too hard.
That's like that would be an interesting feminist take on the movie.
Yeah.
But she pulls her leg out of because she's luring Terminator into this press.
I don't know if she's luring. That's the thing. I think she's just trying to escape. No?
So do you think that it was okay? You think it was just a happy accident?
I think so.
Okay. Well, anyway, she says the coolest line: "You're terminated, fucker," and she she pulls down this cage first. It puts its arm out, trying to strangle her with its last ability to function, and then Sarah punches a button and a press crushes the Terminator, and it's dead.
You're terminated, fucker.
And the epilogue of this movie is probably one of my favorite things because it contains within it more exposition, which is so cool. I love that they did that. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
How Sarah is now talking into a microphone to her future son, who she's now pregnant with, from the dad of a soldier from the future that he sent back to protect her, but also be his father. So she talks about this paradox in this way where she's like, a person could go crazy thinking about this, but I suppose I'll tell you about him because he'd probably, need you to know and want you to know.
Totally.
Isn't that such a cool, sweet touch?
Yeah. And not just that, but opens up the idea of a sequel with, she's at I guess past the Mexican border or whatever. And
she's on her way to go. So I wrote this down. I was like, is she going to like these bunkers and where libertarians who want to live off the grid live?
Yes, fully.
And she wants to meet.
But that's 90s and 80s libertarians. People who are not disgusting.
Preppers?
Yeah, deplorable people now. Those kids of those people would eventually become
the kids of the 90s preppers. So I love the tape recorder thing. And I also love the scene with the old man. So they just show a shot of her, brandishing a magnum in her lap, which was so cool. She's now just fully libertarian. And a German Shepherd, because she wants to be able to detect Terminators.
Yeah,
she wants to be able to she knows, hey, they might send
that's
some
why they have
back.
dogs in the second one too.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
It's such a cool addition. Max, she instills the idea that
Max is not her dog.
No, but she instilled the idea in John that he should want a dog.
I mean sure. Yeah.
Do you want to give it that?
Fine,
Do you want to give it that?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll talk about that later. But she talks about the paradox. It's so cool. And the photos taken. The photo that she gives to John to give to Kyle. Man, I love this. And the kid says, there's a storm coming.
Yeah, the little boy snaps a picture of her saying in Spanish, my dad will beat me if I don't bring back $5 for the photo that I took of you.
It's so cool. It's so cool.
It's also fully
it's a line. He's feeding her a line.
He's feeding her a line, and she goes, nice hustle, kid. Because fully that dude is his dad. That dude who owns the fucking gas station or whatever is so his dad. And he will beat him if he doesn't give him $5.
Oh my God. No, dude. And cue the end of the music, the theme music. Dum 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 dum. Doo doo doo. Okay.
And her driving out into the storm or whatever.
My final, how did you guess? I guess this will be the real.
How did you guess?
Is that the score for that movie? Whoever wrote that, they don't know the time signature. They don't know the time signature.
Oh, outrageous.
Yeah.
That's so weird.
It's written with pots and pans in it was written in a living room, and the guy just didn't know what he did. And he did a happy accident that became this iconic theme song.
Wow.
Isn't that a crazy story?
That's crazy. That's cool.
So I gave this movie a 10 out of 10 Schwartzys, as I said earlier. As a movie, I would give it a star rating of it's a 7.8.
So specific.
It's really good. It's excellent, I would say. But, I just know what's coming. So I have to judge it in that respect. And it can't get a better rating than Terminator 2.
No, probably not. Like I said before, I feel like I would give it probably 78 Schwartzys.
Out of a possible 20 Schwartzys?
No, out of a possible of maybe 94,000 Schwartzys. I think that as
you hate the rating system so much. We were talking about this earlier. I was like, okay, I'm gonna keep doing the rating system. You don't have to do it, but I want to keep doing it.
I just think that as a interesting sort of oh, this is post sort of making this dude like a wacky, weird thing with what's it called, Destroyer. It felt so much more natural and contextual. All the lines that he would deliver that were like quote unquote his lines or whatever.
Well, retrospectively, you can see this choice in Schwartzy's career as a rebranding on his behalf.
Yeah.
Like he was like, fuck, I have to do something different. I'm just going to get typecast as a muscle dude.
Yeah.
And he almost did.
Yeah. I mean, he did, but
he transcended the like, just, like outlandish barbarian muscle
because
guy,
because in
the movies he plays in later, they have to explain why he's muscly rather than him being in the movie for his muscles.
Not just that too, but like the charm that they tried to introduce in Conan the Destroyer seems completely necessary and functional in this, where it's like, oh yeah, like that guy, he's like, he could be he could talk more. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true.
In a way that was like, didn't seem like it existed in Conan the Barbarian, but like tried to exist in this awkward way in Conan the Destroyer.
I agree with you completely. Dude, I don't know how excited to be about Red Sonja next week. Is Red Sonja a good movie?
No.
It's been so long.
It's such a bad movie, dude.
It's such a bad movie.
It's such a terrible movie.
I'm so bummed that we have to watch another bad Schwartzy movie.
No, it'll be fun.
And
whatever.
is he the main character or is Red Sonja
Red Sonja's the main character?
Okay, so
technically
he's a side character, but do they play it as like do they give him more of a role than that character deserves because he was so hot at the time? Like
probably.
Hot
I haven't seen the movie in a really
of?
long time either, but this has been the Schwartzy podcast, and follow the Schwartzy movie page at SCHWARTZY movie on Facebook. Bye.